Hello friends, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about astral travel and lucid dreaming. And so I have like some bullet points of things to do and not to do. So the first thing I want to talk about is do not use melatonin. I know that some melatonin will help you make be a little more lucid in your dreams, but melatonin triggers the tribal part of the brain stem and tribal level of the astral worlds, and you don't want to do that. Because remember, we're talking now about lucid dreaming and astral travel, which is the first level of expanding your consciousness, but it is the closest level to Earth, and it is packed full of emotions. That's how the astral world was created, through feeling and emotions. And your conscious self, remember, your consciousness is attached to your blueprint, and a lot of your consciousness dwells in the astral worlds. And so you want to stay away from the lowest, densest frequencies of the astral world. It's full of all kinds of, dark stuff and some light stuff. But melatonin triggers tribal dark energy, so you don't want to take melatonin. And along with that, you don't want to take ayahuasca and all these tribal herbs, because they do the same thing. They trigger tribal mentalities, they trigger the survival brainstem, they trigger dark entities. Again, stay away from these kind of ideas: melatonin, ayahuasca, and alcohol. It goes without saying, don't drink. If you're going to have a beer or something, have it at lunch. Make sure it's out of your system before you go to sleep. Any of these kind of substances will trigger lower astral vibrations, and we are working here to move into higher realms of light beyond the astral world, because remember, a large majority of people stay in the astral. They move from here to their astral body, which looks identical to this, with all the emotions, all the family lineage patterns that we've talked about before, all of that still attached to you in the astral world. This is why we want to move beyond the astral world. We want to get into fourth, fifth density, higher densities of light. To do that, we have to get beyond the astral. So it's okay to start practicing in the astral, but when you do that, you want to move into the higher frequencies of the astral world. So no drugs, especially these tribal drugs, melatonin, alcohol, things like that. Don't eat late at night. Try to finish eating by 6 or 7. And don't eat right before you go to bed. Don't watch television before you go to bed. Stay away from television anyway, but if you watch it, it has to be very early on. You want to have a clean mind and a clean body when you go to sleep. You don't want to complicate your traveling or your lucidity by junking it up. So keep it clean when you go to bed at night. Next thing is to make sure that you do not use an alarm clock in the morning. An alarm clock shatters your connection to the higher realms and completely disrupts the entire download that may be happening and your ability to remember what was going on or any messages that might be coming to you. So I trained myself in my 20s a long time ago, decades ago, never to use an alarm clock. Wake yourself up 30 minutes ahead of the time you need to get up, when you know it's going to be quiet. And when you wake up, stay absolutely still. Don't move your body, don't move your head, don't move your body at all in any way. And wake up very slowly. Keep your eyes closed. If you find you woke up and you kind of open your eyes, close your eyes back and keep yourself in that state, that transitional state. Because it's not when you go to sleep, but when you're waking up, that you get most of your downloads of information, most guidance, messages. Most clearly, you remember just everything that you were just doing in your other body. And so a lot of information that is basically left there when you're in that body, and you're very smart. If you're in the higher realms, you're pretty smart. You can bring some of that information back. So when you wake up, just stay totally still and rest there for 15, 20, 30 minutes and allow the downloads to come. Because once you start asking to be a part of higher dimensions, higher densities and frequencies, and to start remembering where you go and remembering what bodies you're using, you'll be getting messages, you can hear them, you'll be getting visions, you'll be getting downloads. Sometimes it's all geometrical downloads. And you will, if you've just come from somewhere, you will still be holding that memory, and you can integrate that information of who you were, what you were doing, and your purpose, and who you were talking to, and a lot of that solidifying of the path that we're doing. We're going back and forth to the higher realms, back and forth, back and forth. So it's very important that the morning be as peaceful and quiet as possible, so you can have that 30 minutes to absorb the whole thing, integrate it in. Because in other videos I've talked about, it's important that we begin to integrate those higher frequencies, because you cannot go where you haven't been when you pass over. So if you are inhabiting another body and you are doing things in those realms out there, that has to be integrated into this consciousness, because that's just how you travel there when you leave. I mentioned this in the latest video. Our consciousness is transferred. So you have maybe 50% over there, 60, 70, 80, and then you come back and there's a little bit here. When you finally leave, all of it goes there in that body. So the other thing you can do after you start to get these downloads and information like that is to keep a journal. And a lot of people tell you that about dreams. And it is helpful to keep a journal, because some dreams, some lucid dreaming and astral travel are connecting the dots of where you're going. And sometimes you may go to different places because you are learning, you're being educated. You're being educated into what your options are. And so you may travel in different bodies for a while until you sort of settle into some sort of area that seems to be mostly compatible with you. And the other thing I want to mention here is the sacred fire. The sacred fire is extremely important for developing higher frequency and higher density of light. And I've done a lot of videos on that. I will put a link to one of them at the end of this video on the introduction to the sacred fire. But the sacred fire not only cleanses and purifies your entire system, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual system, but as I said in the introduction to the sacred fire, you begin to feel energies and frequencies. Your body will shake, it will spin, it will do waves of energy, and it will begin to fine-tune, not only just open your chakras, but fine-tune them and start to open the channels up in the higher chakras into higher densities of light. So meditating every day in the sacred fire is going to help you make this transition over into higher frequencies and densities of light. So we have no melatonin, no drugs, no alcohol. Don't eat late at night. Don't use an alarm clock. Allow yourself to remember what just happened or where you were. Write it down when you can right away. And use the sacred fire and begin to start experiencing the energies of the sacred fire, because I have a long video, two videos on how to use the fire and several meditation tapes. This is going to help open you up a lot. And the other thing is, don't get discouraged. You just need to keep at it and get disciplined every day, keeping your body clean as much as possible, but for sure when you go to sleep. And if you want to ask some questions, please leave your comments below and your questions, and I am more than happy to answer them for you. And at some point I may create a Facebook group where we're all in the group talking about our dreams and astral travel and and our bilocations. And one of the things you will be getting is a lot of precognition. When you start working with the sacred fire and you start to become very lucid, you will get precognition. You will know things before they happen because you're starting to work a lot in the worlds of the timeless. So information past and future just kind of integrate in with all of that. And so that's all I'm going to cover for today. Be sure and subscribe so that you can get the notice for the next one, and leave any comments if you want. Thank you.